And it's AFEX time on Business Morning. Total turnover, number of trades, and number of deals were all in the green in the week ended May 23rd. Was it really a green week? At the AFEX Commodity Exchange, we have Suleiman joining us virtually from Ikoyi. He is a financial market analyst with AFEX. Hi, Suleiman. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Great. Good to have you on the show. So give us a summary of happenings on the exchange for the week ended.
Okay. For the week under review from May 17 to May 23, so there was a significant uptick on the activities on the exchange, with the total turnover trending up massively at about 12.53 times over the week, from 1.59 billion naira in the previous week to 19.92 billion naira for the week under review. Total volume traded on the exchange also took the same path, increasing 13.79 times from 5.5 million contract traded in the previous week to a massive 75.8 million contract traded in the week under review. The number of deals traded on the exchange went up slightly from 292 deals to 302 deals in the week under review, representing a 3.42% upturn. The AFEX Commodity Index, ACL, however, bucked the positive trend as it closed the week in the red by 3.27%, going from 470.35 points to 454.99 points in the week under review. The AFEX Export Index, the AEI, also declined by 2.63%, moving from 204.07 points to 198.70 points in the just concluded week. So breaking down the volume of contract traded on the exchange, May's witnessed a massive surge in the volume traded from 3.69 million contract in the previous week to a mammoth 72.96 million contract in the week under review. Soybean, sorghum, and paddy rice also witnessed slight increases in the volume traded on the exchange. Ginger and sesame closed the week flat, with cashew witnessing a slight decline in number of volume traded. So in terms of price performance of individual commodities on the exchange, maize, the commodity with the highest activity on the exchange, returned a 4.11% week-on-week return, representing a 9.59 naira increase to close the week at 243.11 naira. Soybean returned 0.39% during the week, representing a 1.67 naira increase to close the week at 427 naira. Sorghum returned a 0.19% price increase to close the week at 250.47 naira. Paddy rice was the biggest gainer on the exchange with a week-on-week return of 5.91%, which represented a 13.46 naira return to close the week at 241.46 naira. Cocoa, however, declined by 2.55% to close the week at 1,190.22 naira. The price of cashew on the exchange also declined by 5.94% to close the week under review at 625.17 naira. Ginger and sesame closed the week flat on the exchange, maintaining the same price levels from the previous week. So to get more updates on the exchange, you can follow all our social media handles at afexnigerian.com to get more price updates and all the happenings on the exchange. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Suleiman. Thank you for that analysis on the happenings on the markets, and do enjoy your day. Let's switch over to our Abuja studio now, where we have Yusuf Ogumbi, the head structuring and origination AFEX, joining us now. Good morning, Yusuf.
Good morning. Nice to be here again.
Good to have you again. Well, it's no doubt that an invasion that has brought about a war, the pandemic, financial crisis, all of them have conspired to put unprecedented stress on global food system supplies. Governments are spending a lot of time. AFDB is meeting in Accra, Ghana. This is what they are talking about. Well, all these wars have sown the seeds of an even bigger crisis that's not getting nearly the same amount of attention. There's less consensus on what needs to be done in the medium to long term to increase this. So, Yusuf, one school of thought actually argues that to use every policy lever to reduce food import dependency, even if it's harmful to the environment. Another school of thought thinks that the crisis might speed up environmental progress by reducing intensive agriculture, which accounts for 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Which of these do you think apply to Nigeria, especially from the point of view of AFEX?
Thank you very much. And I think it's very obvious now what we are faced with. First of all, the pandemic struck, and then we saw the very low resilience we have in the global food systems, not just Nigeria. And then we are faced with a protracted war, something that Russia probably expected to be done with in probably 2 months. Now we are facing a very protracted situation, and then that's having some ripple effects on the global economy as well, and the global food supply. But going back to your question and the two school of thoughts, I think neither of them is absolutely correct. So as it stands now, we can't take any extreme measure. What we can do is to chart out a short, medium, and long-term plans to see how we would address this. In the short term, there might be some policies surrounding ramping up production aggressively as much as you can, so that you avert the impending food crisis. That's more like a risk to the African continent, to Nigeria, to Africa and the world at large than some other challenges you might be looking at. But then if you look at it more closely, you see that Nigeria, in terms of emissions globally, is still very far behind. Our total emissions is not sizable when it's compared to the very top global emitter of carbon gases, right? So if you look at it, it then tells us that Nigeria probably has the opportunity to ramp up its production over the short to medium and long-term horizons. And in addition to that, we have a lot of arable land that's still not optimized. So that means that we can deploy not just, we can utilize our lands, not just looking at it from the environmental perspective, but also looking at it from a resource perspective, where we have a number of a sizable amount of land to cultivate. So I would say neither extreme is good, but then we should actually choose the pathway we choose, we implement based on our short, medium, and long-term plans.
Yeah, and so while we are still talking about this issue of a challenge to the food system globally, we notice that a third of all food produced globally never reaches the plate, is lost in the production chain or is wasted, you know. How can producers and consumers be made to, you know, be more conscious of this and more responsible in their choices?
That's an interesting question, honestly. If you look at post-harvest losses, estimates show that post-harvest losses is actually highest at the consumer side. So when the remnants people leave on their tables, the leftovers, the waste that we have in restaurants across the world, and households actually across the world, you'd see that there are two ways to tackle this. There's the consumer behavior that needs to be fixed in terms of how we eat, what we consume, and the portions, how we size our portions, our plates we consume on a daily basis. But then there's the more easier one, which is what applies to the farmers, where production is actually done. A number of strategies have been suggested. So you look at whether you provide very good storage facilities for farmers to store the produce that they produce, so that you don't have losses at that end. You provide some cold chain storage for farmers as well, or farmers and then logistics providers. So the farmers have cold storage to store whether it's vegetables, tomatoes, or the likes that they produce. And then the logistics services also have appropriate logistic vehicles to carry the various produce that are trucked from one part of the country, from one part of the world to the other. So there's on the one hand, the part of the farmer, the producer, where you can implement strategies such as improved storage services, better optimized logistics distribution systems. And then there is the part of the consumers, where you also have consumer education, awareness coming into play, so that people are aware of how much waste we actually accrue on a day-to-day basis by leaving remnants, leftovers, and just wasting food in their households. This account, and if you look at it on the other side as well, where you have on the one hand some people wasting food, and on the other hand some people going to bed hungry, you then begin to feel a little bit uncomfortable, if not very uncomfortable, with what we see in that instance. So just to answer your question, straightforward, there are strategies, storage and better logistics service, appropriate logistics vehicles, and then you also have on the consumer side very, very aggressive awareness and education so that we behave in a better manner.
Yeah, it would be interesting, Yusuf, to find out how we can fill in that knowledge gap from the consumer to the household to the farmers, how we can fill in the gap and interconnections between the food system.
Yeah, to a large extent, this kind of void, aggressive campaigns by these kind of agencies would help to make people aware. If you look at how several forms of nutritional campaigns have been implemented over the past 2 decades, if not more, you would see that there's been very targeted, very aggressive campaigns around certain things. So take, for instance, look at when there were campaigns around 1 egg per day. Look at the amount of aggressive campaigns that went into that activity. The same can also be implemented here. So you have the National Orientation Agency that can help in providing this amount of information, but then it's not limited to Nigeria. It's a global phenomenon. So you look at it from a global perspective as well. The United Nations, through the World Food Programme, FAO, has always raise these kind of issues, right? So we need more and more of these campaigns from the government, from private stakeholders like ourselves, who continue to inform the public about the harm, about the benefits and risks that are imminent. And also we look at it from the NGOs who are very focused on nutrition, who are very focused on food security, to also look at these kind of awareness campaigns. I think if we have very targeted, very structured campaigns around this, we can begin to look at how to shift consumer behavior away from some of these patterns that we see being implemented globally.
All right, Yusuf Ogumbi, Head Structuring and Origination at AFEX. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us. We do hope to go beyond the thoughts and be activated. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
We'll take a moment, then we'll come back for the markets.